What if the secret to becoming the greatest civilization in human history was first losing everything: your wealth, your literacy, your identity? What if destruction was not the end of Greece, but the very beginning of it? Around 1200 BC, something catastrophic swept across the ancient world. Empires collapsed, trade networks vanished. Greece, once a connected monarchy, shattered into hundreds of isolated, illiterate, desperately poor little towns. For 400 years, there was almost no writing at all. Historians call it the Dark Ages. But here is the twist. Out of that darkness came Homer, the alphabet, and a completely new way of thinking about what it means to be human. Those three things would become the engine of the greatest civilization the world has ever seen. When all Greece fell apart, thousands of tiny communities, each with maybe 1,000 people, had to figure out how to survive on their own. No king, no empire telling them what to do. These were called the polis, and because everyone was poor and every hand was needed to fight, every man had the right to speak. That is where democracy came from. Not an idea dreamed up in a palace, but a survival strategy born out of poverty. Before Greece fell, writing was complicated, a tool for professional scribes, locked away from ordinary people. When Greece lost the ability to read and write entirely, it had to start over. And in starting over, it borrowed a revolutionary new system from the Egyptians, via the Phoenicians, the alphabet. Suddenly, writing could sound like speaking. It was no longer a professional skill. A farmer could learn it, a merchant could use it. This did not just change how people communicated, it changed how deeply they could think. Most poets in the ancient world were hired by kings to do three things: justify the king's power, tell people who they were, and tell people who their enemies were. Homer had no king. He performed for ordinary people, farmers, soldiers, craftsmen, and he had to earn their coin by giving them something extraordinary. His famous poem, the Iliad, tells the story of the Trojan War. But it does not tell it from the Greek side alone. Homer gives you the Trojan side too. And here is the shocking part. The Trojans come across as more heroic, more decent, more brave than the Greeks. For the first time in recorded human history, a storyteller looked at the enemy and said, "They are human too." That act of switching perspectives is the birth of empathy. The story's most powerful moment is not a battle, it is a meeting in the dark. The Greek hero Achilles has killed the Trojan prince Hector and refuses to return the body. So Hector's father, the old king Priam, sneaks alone into the enemy camp. He kneels before Achilles and kisses the hands of the man who killed his son. Achilles, hardened, furious, breaks. He sees in this old king his own grief, his own guilt, his own failure, and he gives the body back. That is the turning point of the entire poem, not a sword, not a victory, a moment of shared human recognition. Homer is full of unexpected connections, images that link things you would never think to link. He was not decorating his words, he was training his listeners to make new thoughts. In a culture that learned by listening and memorizing, the Iliad became a manual for thinking. Put those three things together: empathy, psychological depth, and metaphorical thinking, and you have something the world had never seen before, a theory of what it means to be human. Not a human defined by who they kill or what land they own. A human defined by the capacity to feel what others feel, to imagine what cannot be seen, and to think deeply about why things happen. That became the foundation of Greek civilization, and Greek civilization became the foundation of the world we live in. The philosophers, the historians, the scientists, they all grew from a seed that Homer planted. Confucian China put scholars at the top. Greece put poets at the top. That single difference explains why one culture produced censorship and one produced Socrates. Greece had to be destroyed before it could create. It had to lose everything: power, writing, wealth, before it could invent the alphabet, the police, and Homer. The Dark Ages were not a gap in Greek history, they were the pressure that made the diamond. And Homer, writing for people who had nothing, gave them the one thing that would outlast everything else: the idea that to be fully human is to be capable of seeing the world through someone else's eyes. 3,000 years later, students on the other side of the planet still read his words and feel changed by them. That is not nostalgia. That is a civilization that figured something